I love Monday nights. Good, because it says 7 o'clock on my watch. Welcome. A lot happened in this week of thinking, and we'll talk about it. Kenny will read part of it, but it all zeroes in on one of the things when I asked my granddaughter, Jessie, how do you see the world? And she said, nothing disappears. It just changes its image. And it bothered me because every object I looked at, I knew would either get to look different or would melt or would become food for a bug. And I realized, what about us? Do we die? This is a question that everybody has always asked about, thought about, and thought of her own theories. And I'll just give you my theory. My theory is that the people I loved never left me. They're in my memory. Not the people I hated or was afraid of. I got rid of them. I don't have room to carry them. Martin Luther King wrote, I don't remember the exact words, but something like that he carries love, he believes in love. Hate is too heavy a burden to carry. And when people are not in my life anymore, as in Hitler, I don't have to think about them. Whereas when they lived, I had to plan my life according to their rules. I don't anymore. But Kenny took my thoughts and wrote them up. And a little bit later, he's going to read them to you. And I'll talk in the meantime about what I'm going to do about the painting. You see, someday a day will come when now I can hold anybody's voice in a recording if they're not here, in a telephone call if they're here, in a written word if I have what they wrote. But in my brain, they're living there, and I can keep them forever. And so I have a feeling, and live accordingly, that the memory of the people I love, one by one, each has his or her own space. They talk to me constantly. My mother never left a room until it was straightened. To this day, I do that. My father never finished a piece of paper without putting it back where it belongs. I fail constantly, and I spend so much time hunting for things which I didn't put away at the moment. And my brother Richie, who smiled at people, I do the same thing. And there are countless other people who affected me deeply. And I carry them. And it made me think of the value of me, that I am the carrier of these people and other people carry other memories of them. And since each one of the people has been in contact with their own parents, with their own people, then I have to realize I'm beginning to understand what the space telescope says, that every galaxy probably has its own galaxy, and they have their galaxies, and the numbers are so vast. And I carry in my brain such vastness. So let me not say more. And later on, Kenny will read the comments.
I could read them now,
Okay.
if you want. Or I could wait.
I'd like you, Kenny, to be the one. I'm done speaking.
Well, should I read I'll read the comments, and then do you want me to read that?
Yeah.
Okay. Comments.
And I can paint in the meantime.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. Kathy's, yes, Carol Hodkin is watching. Ed Weedman, hi Hetty and Ken. Sorry I forgot to call you Hetty. Marcia, that magical smile. It works every time. Melanie Bell is watching. Kathy Lahan Cawthorn said, I think your granddaughter means we all become a part of each other and continue on. Tibor Spitz, the artist and Holocaust survivor and subject of Eileen's documentary, is watching. Welcome, Tibor. How wonderful. Melanie Bell. Hi, Hetty. This is cousin Melanie, Tammy and Tracy's cousin. I'm so happy they introduced you to my life.
Welcome. Okay. Do you want to begin, Kenny? And
Sure.
I'll get my paints out.
So these are just, Hetty was speaking, and I just kind of captured her thoughts, wrote down the things that she said. These are basically her words. I'm doing this painting now, and in it, I'm painting people who are alive, and I'm painting a number of people who have died, and I'm doing that consciously, because who they are in some way lives on. My granddaughter said to me she believes nothing ever fully ends, that it lives on but in different ways. These days, I'm thinking about memories not as flat things, not as photographs of the past, but as actual living things. Memories are living. They live inside of me. They have changed and colored who I am. When you're with me, you connect with Eric. You connect with my mother and my father because they are alive in me. Let's not think of memories as flat things. Let's think of them as living things that color us, that affect us, that touch us, that in some ways still continue and go on. For Kinha, her brother still exists. It matters that he is in this painting next to Eric. He is safe now. I don't know if entities continue and go on, but what I do know is that memories have such power and that they actually are living things. And that's part of what I'm reflecting in this painting. These are all people who have changed the world, and some don't live anymore, but they're still changing the world. And in fact, my painting is helping them change the world because they are still emanating their spirit and their memory through this painting. We get to be carriers of the spirits in the memories of the people that we have loved. And once they die, we have a certain kind of freedom. We can choose who we remember. We can choose who we think about. We can choose who we are formed by. We can choose whose memories are going to inspire and animate us. Wow.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you. You know, when Kenny and I talk, he does this wonderful thing Then again, he's a psychotherapist. He's well versed in what to do. And he asks questions, and I find myself saying things that make me happy. Okay, what I decided to do, and John, this is what I told you about. I need each of the people in this painting to become real. But they can only become real if I tell you the part of them I know. You will know each of them differently. The memories that we carry of people are our interpretation. And I want to begin first with my friend Linda Swern. And Kenny will show her to you as I tell you about her. Here she is. What did Linda teach me? Boy, did she teach. I used to say, you guys, and she said, don't do that. We are not all guys. Some of us are females. And we began to look for the one group of people who speak to acknowledge that we are different genders. And we figured the Southerners did. They said, you all. So I'm going to say you all. I can't do the Southern accent very well, okay? But here is Linda. Linda, when I was drawing people, she said, draw me the way you see me. And I said, no, because I'm going to give you the drawing. So I want to do it the way you see yourself. And she said, but I don't know how I see myself. I've always wondered how people see me. And we did a lot of thinking and a lot of talking, and we both came up with this conclusion. If I pick up the phone and you're at the other end, and I look as if I'm happy to see you, you will be happy to see me. And here I'll quote Eric. Eric used to say, if you're afraid of the dog will bite you. If you look at the person as if you're afraid of them, you better be afraid, because they will become afraid of you. And we know the results. Okay? So what I learned from Linda is that. But what I also learned was Linda was an athlete, a brilliant athlete. And yet people treated her as the woman, as a child. She was a tomboy. And she was not a tomboy. She wanted people to say, this girl is an athlete. And so you're going to learn through every one of the people in here how they see themselves. And perhaps you will begin to see, do people see you the way you want to be seen? Okay? Now, since I want to start painting, let me begin. And Kenny, it means you'll have to be near me.
Of course.
Okay. Okay. First of all, again, Dory, who is here, gave me the gift of being able to paint this way, because my hand is very shaky and I cannot do details with an easel. When I have an easel, I've got to be able to go like this. And Dory arranged the room so I can do that. Okay, let me go back to Linda, since I was with Linda. And Gary, who is over here, arranged and got me this wonderful table that he fixed so that I could have my paint on it. I want you to know life was very simple and very wonderful when I didn't have a shaky hand. But I have no choice. Okay, I need to show the shadows so that we know she's wearing clothing that has shadows. And this is brown. This is a wonderful brown. It's a burnt umber. And I use it very lovingly and very gently. Because if I overdo it, her white sleeve becomes brown. But in another painting, I have Susan Hansen. Susan Hansen, by the way, and her husband are going to be making the prints of this painting when it's going to be finished. Okay, where is my soft brush?
Meanwhile, while you're doing this, I will read what people have written.
I'd love it.
Marcia said, love you and love watching you paint. Greg is watching. Hi, Greg. Tammy says, memories are living things.
Yes.
And says, well done, Kenny. And Julie says, beautiful words and wisdom. Hetty, you're as gifted a writer as you are a painter. And Phyllis says about Linda, my friend for over 50 years. Yola Patakas is watching, and she says, hello, my friend Hetty, love you.
There's Yola.
And Carol says, you are amazing.
Actually, everybody who just spoke is in the painting, and I did not know, and spoke to John, who did the documentary about me. How do we do this? And I think we both came to the decision that the best way to do it is when I can show you to the people. Now, you see what I did here?
And let me say, Tammy Smith says, I see the shadow forming.
Yes. But watch this. This is going to not be the same white as that. So the wonderful thing that I can do now is to find out if it works. And if it doesn't, Susan Hansen, who would always give me things, clothing that was very washed, so that I could use it as rags. Susan, I could use more. See, I will now have to put the shadow right there because the racket is behind. If you watch carefully, you'll see how I use my hands with the shading very timidly, because I don't know what will look how. It has its own meanings, and she was a very shiningly clean woman, so using a dark brown means the limits of what I can do. And here again, Susan, I'm running out of certain materials. I hope you have things which have been washed too much.
Mom, we have that we can give you.
Pardon?
We also have that we can give you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now, let me show you this part. I have a gift of tiny brushes. I would just like Kenny to show you what I now have a lot of. But I'm never going to do noses and faces while you watch,
I'm sorry, it's a little hard.
because then I have to think. Now, the only person in this painting who is not real is the back of this man, because I needed somebody to be painting Linda, and I didn't know anybody who would be willingly showing only their back. Okay, now, can I have my little brush again? Because I have to do Linda's hand. Okay? Oops, too much red. You can see why rags are wonderful.
Oh, sorry. So, Tammy says you, Hetty, should be the one in the painting who's painting Linda.
Okay, I'll tell you all about that. You see, there is a painting called Louisiana Avenue, which is a painting that belongs to Kenny and Greg. And in it, I did everything. I did every family member who's alive. I did my grandchildren. I did everybody. And believe me, I can't do it again. Because Eddie, where are you? Here you are. Eddie had said, Hetty, what you should do is, in this painting, put your family. And I agreed with him. And then I thought, no, I don't have the energy. I don't have the strength. And so I can't. But you see what's happening now? Linda has the hand of an athlete. In other words, strong fingers. Because when she holds something, she holds it. Now, do you notice how awkward this is? You know why it's so awkward? Okay, it's so awkward because I have a shaky hand. Why do I have a shaky hand? And therefore cannot use my easel? Because, let me announce it joyously, I'm 94 years old. And it is perfectly plausible to have a shaky hand. And the inconvenience is not going to stop me from working. Right?
Right. I want to tell you that Lee says, we lost your signal, Hetty, but what we did here, we loved. You are a blessing for all of us to enjoy. And Paula is watching. Hey, Paula.
I have to say something about what I'm going to do next week. I'm going to speak to Lee's sweetheart, because that's what he calls my Cheryl. And I'm going to say, I need to advertise your wonderful talent. She made a birthday card for me, different from any birthday card I will ever get. It's done as a sort of collage. And I want the world to know that what she does should start a new way of doing birthday cards, or cards in general. Because, okay, do you see what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. I'm going to make her pants darker, because otherwise her athletic hand won't show its strength. So her light blue pants are going to be coming dark, but not very dark, because Joey Lair is wearing a dark suit, and my job is to make a beautiful composition, which means I can't interfere with her suit. So Linda is going to get blue pants. But they're too blue at the moment. And that will fade off by next week, and then I can give lights and darks in it. But until then, I'm going to wipe off the excess paint. Okay? Watch out, Joey. You see, to put a light color on top now is useless, because it's oil. But if I have patience and just put the light tones now and hope that tomorrow I can smoothen it out. But oil tells you what it wants. And it's too garish now. It's very beautiful, but that's not what people's clothes look like. Kenny says I've only 1 minute left.
Let me tell you that Ed says watching the lessons of the master painter is priceless. This is priceless, Hetty. And Carol says, I love watching the magic happen. Kathy says, what a beautiful painting. It's full of life and meaning.
I love you all. Good night.